Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Hello, Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Nedarim Daf Tzadik. We are holding on Peites Amud Beis, 5 lines from the bottom of the Amud, and right in the middle of a sugya. We had a machlekes between Rabbi Nosson and the Rabbanan. Anisha makes a neder which, is about to be activated if such and such takes place. So she made a neder which constitutes as inu nefesh or beinei lebina, a neder which would qualify for potential hafara coming from the husband, but that neder hasn't yet been activated. Rather, it's conditioned upon something else happening. Chances are that thing will happen and will activate the neder. Question: can a husband interfere and preempt that anticipated hardship, that anticipated neder? The Chachamim say, yes, it's about to be here, it's about to come, just do the hafar, even though it's not yet been actualized. Rabbi Nosson says, you have to see it to believe it, it's here, you can do the hafara, otherwise no hafara can oppose the neder at this point. The Gemara today will tell us that the same idea, this machlekes regarding hafara of a husband to the neder of his wife, will apply perhaps as well to an ordinary neder. A fellow makes a neder and would like to go to a chacham for hatoras nedarim. Can he do that in advance? Or does he have to wait for the neder to be chal, to have been activated? So we start with a story, 5 lines from the bottom. Ahu Gavra, there was this fellow who wanted to establish his life in a responsible, mature manner. He wanted to first get into a bit of learning before he gets involved in committing to marriage and to parnasa. So what would he do to ensure compliance? He says like this: he made hana from anybody out there usher upon him, meaning I can't benefit from anyone out there if I don't behave. If he marries a wife, before I learn. So first he wants to get into some learning, get into the groove of Torah, and then that will ensure success upon marriage and upon it would help him embark on the journey of life in a responsible fashion connected to Torah. Okay, so that's its plan, and to ensure that in fact he follows that charter, he says, look, I'm not going to take hana from anybody unless I follow through, unless I do it the right way. So if I first marry before I learn, asr b'hana from anybody out there, and the neder takes place. So what happened? So again, he says, he noticed, right? If I don't learn, Torah before marriage, it becomes asr. Rohit, so he ran. He tried to, pursue learning. Rohit begapo, just an expression. Rohit begapo. Gapo is a walking stick with tavila and a tarmel. It's a pouch, like a leather pouch, like a knapsack. Okay, in any case, he's running along with his, with all his abilities, all his power, and he was not successful. He didn't get into learning. He couldn't. He wasn't successful in his efforts to learn Torah. Okay, so now he's stuck. Tried to learn, it didn't work out. But he's afraid to marry, because then the neder will kick in. He would like to take away that neder, but he can't, because the neder has not yet arrived. Remember, the neder was contingent upon him deviating from his plan. Well, he hadn't yet deviated. He tried to learn, but he hasn't yet married an Isha in this state. So you can't really go ahead and address that potential Isra that's coming after he marries, because that Isra is as yet unborn. Asr of Acha bar Rav Huna. So Rav Acha wanted to help him. So he came and he did like this. V'shabshen, he sort of misled him to marry. Go ahead and marry, don't worry about it. And he married an Isha, in which case the neder that he made upon himself, which neder? If I marry prior to learning, I will be asr b'hana from anybody out there. So the neder now arrives. V'sharkei tina, and Rav Acha smeared him with some mud, got him all dirty, which necessitates the launderer's services, in which he's asr right now. He can't benefit from the laundromat. So now the neder is here. with a real need of removal. So he comes to Rav Chizda in order to remove the neder to make Hataras Nedarim. Amar Rava man chakim. Look how smart. Who else is as smart to apply this solution? If not for Rav Acha, who else could have come up with this solution? The Gava Rabbu is a great man, and he was able to actually come up with a solution in order to remove the neder, which could not have been removed if not for the fact that it was activated in this manner. Because Rav Acha bar Rav Huna apparently holds the same machlekes we have between those shitas, Rabbi Nassan, who says you cannot do hafara prior to activation, and Rabbanan who say you can. The same machlekes applies to Hataras Nedarim as well, regarding a fellow going and petitioning a chacham to remove his neder. The same machlekes applies here as well. And Rav Acha bar Rav Huna apparently was concerned about Rav Nassan's shita, didn't want to take any chance, and therefore, in order to enable this fellow to go to the chacham, he had to first activate the neder, told him to get married in his non-learned state, and then it enabled Hataras Nedarim. So that's Rav Acha bar Rav Huna, just as we have a machlekes between Rabbi Nassan, who says you cannot do hafara in advance of the neder's activation. Rabbanon say you can. The same applies to she'ela by Hataras Nedarim. Rav Nassan says you can't do it ahead of time. Chachamim say you can. Rav Papi Amar, we have another sheet. He says no. Machlekes ba'afara. His disagreement is limited to Hafaras Nedarim, but not to Hataras Nedarim. The Rav Nassan savar ein habal meifer. Elam kein chal neder. According to Rav Nassan, you cannot do Hafaras Nedarim on your wife's neder until the neder is here. The sim v'chav halavana. Pasuk in Yeshaya, we're using it as a simon. Says the Taisvis, v'chafra halavana. Chafra is like hafara, disruption. Halavana literally means the moon will be shamed, but we're darshaning as a simon. As a basis for this halacha, we're saying v'chafra means like hafara, halavana only if it's bana, if it's built up, if it's here, if it's actualized, if it's tangible, then you could do the hafara. But the Taisvis says really it's based on a svara. We're just using the pasuk as a way to remember the halacha. That's Rav Nassan's shita. If it's here, you can oppose it, but otherwise you cannot do hafara. For Rabbanon Savri Baal Meifer Afa B'Shlichal Neder, Rabbanon disagree. The concept of disruption applies even in anticipation, even in this premature state. T'chsiv Meifer Machshavos Harumim. Pasuk in Eiv Hashem disrupts a scheme of an aram, of a scheming person, right? So this is actually part of the bracha Asher Heini that we say after the Megillah. Hashem was Mefer, the machshavos, the schemes of the Rishonim. So according to Chachamim, hafara works even ahead of time. Aval b'she'ela, but when it comes to she'ela as Chacham pertaining to Hataras Nedarim, divrei hakoil ein Chacham mater klum elam chal neder, everybody agrees. The neder is here, you can do the hafara, the Hatara, otherwise not. T'chsiv lo yachal devara. The Ran learns lo yachal chalois, application, activation, realization. Then you can deal with the neder. And then we have the drasha which says you can't override your neder, but other people can. The Chacham can be matir your neder, provided yachel, chalois, it was chal, it was here. It's been actualized. So according to Rav Papi, the machlekes pertains to hafara, but when it comes to Hataras Nedarim, all agree it can only be done when the neder is here. Leva Masayeli, perhaps we'll have a right from my brisa to this concept. He says, look, I'm not going to take any hana from Ruvain. That's one neder. Ulumi she'ish sha'il alav. And also, I will not have any benefit from the Chacham whose services I will use in order to remove that first neder. So he has sort of a chain neder system. Neder 1, I will not have hanah from Reuven. Neder 2, if I should decide to appeal that neder, to remove that neder by way of going to the chacham whose name, let's say, is Shimon, I'm going to be asur on Shimon. Says the Brisa, Nishal al harishon, he first can remove that first neder on Reuven, v'achar kach nishal al hasheni, and only then, after going to the chacham whose name was Shimon to remove Reuven's neder, which now activated that second neder against Shimon, now he can go to Levi, another chacham, and remove the neder which was established against Shimon, the chacham Shimon. So clearly, it would seem that it has to be in that order only. You cannot start with the neder against the chacham whose name is Shimon and say, I want to remove that first, because that neder is not yet here. It only arrives after he did the she'ela. After you went to the chacham and says, look, I want to remove the neder from Reuven. I want to do it with you. So you're my chacham. And now the second neder kicks in. He becomes asur on the chacham. Then, and only then, can he go to Levi to remove the neder between himself and Shimon the chacham. Now, if we shall suggest that when it comes to she'elas chacham, you can do it even before the neder arrives, so then why follow this sequence? If he wishes, you can go ask about this neder first. If he wants, you can go and ask about the other neder first. There's no exact sequence. You don't have to follow this order. The fact that the Brisa indicates that you have to follow a specific order, that is because you have to wait until the neder arrives. And the only way the second neder arrives is after he's she'el on the first neder. That was his condition. When I'm she'el on the first neder, well, the chacham that I used for that she'ela will become asrani. Now that chacham is us. Now you can go take care of that. You can't take care of that second neder first. It's not yet here. Says the Gemara, not necessarily so. When the Brisa, spoke about the first and then the second, umi yada ihai kama, ihai basra. Do we then know which one the Brisa meant when it said Rishain and it said Sheni? We don't know what's kama, what's the first and what's the second. The Brisa was just using numbers. Take care of the first and then take care of the second. Maybe the first one actually is the one with the chacham, which you thought was set. We don't know what the Brisa meant. And the Rosh says, well, the Brisa is just trying to, what's the point of the Brisa? Go to one, go to two, just say, take care of both. The Brisa is telling you, a chiddush, don't you think that both are considered one, even though they're sort of hinging on each other. One activates the other. It's not like it's one neder, in which case you can say when one part of it becomes muta, the whole thing goes by the wayside. We know that neder shehutar miktsasa hutar kulay, when part of a neder becomes cancelled, the whole thing becomes cancelled. We don't treat these two nedarim as one package. And that was the point of the Brisa. You should know there are two separate nedarim here. We have to address them both. So bottom line is we have no raya in terms of our question. Perhaps you would go to the second one first. We don't exactly know what the Brisa meant. Ella, rather, here comes a raya. Leima Masayeli. Listen to this raya from a Brisa which says like this: look, I will have no hanah from Reuven. Hareni nazar likishi shoyl olav. And if I ever try to remove that neder, I'm going to become a nazar. How do we address both commandments? Says the Brisa, you have to do it in proper order. Because remember, Nazirus only arrives when he is shoyl on the first neder. So you can't address the Nazirus first, it's not yet here. Rather, Nishal al Nidrik. First he takes care of the first neder, and then the Nazirus kicks in. That was his condition, right? Nishal al Nidrik. And then he can remove the Nazirus once it's here. Nishal afa b'shilachal neder. Now, if you'll tell me that you can do she'ela even before the neder arrives, so then it's up to him. If he wants, he can do the neder first. Remove the first neder first. Or he can go remove the Nazirus first. Why are we insisting that he does it this way? It would seem from here, you cannot do she'ela on a neder before it arrives. Answers the Gemara, you're right. Hamani Rabbi Nasni. Perhaps this Brisa reflects Shitas Rabbi Nasni. He's the one who told us that by Afora you cannot do it ahead of time, and perhaps by Hataras Neder as well. But the Rabbanan, maybe just as they disagree by Hafara, you can do it ahead of time, the same by Hatara. We have no Raya. To Rav Papi's Chiddush that, well, when it comes to Hataras Nedarim, all agree. It needs to be here first. This Brisa is perhaps Rab Nassan. But bottom line is Rav Papi learned that, yes, when it comes to Hatara, it's different than Hafara. Hafara, well, perhaps you can do it ahead of time, but Hatara, all agree, needs to be once it's here. Amravina, here comes a third sheet. Amravina, Amali Merema. Merema told me, Hachi Amravuch, your father said as follows. Mishmed Rav Papi. He had a different version of Rav Papi. Machlekes ba'afara, this machlekes between Rabbi Nassan, who says you can do the afara ahead of time, and Chacham who said you cannot. That's only ba'afara. Aval b'she'ela, when it comes to Hataras Nedarim by the Chacham, Divri HaKoil, Mater of Afal Pishalachal Neder, all agreed the other way around. You can do the Hatar before the Neder arrives. The Chsiv Lo Yachal Devari, don't disrupt the words. You made a commitment, a verbal commitment. That's what it's all about. Nedarim is about keeping your word. And Hataras Nedarim, which is learned from this pasuk, can be addressed against simple words. Even before the masa, even before the actualization. We're going to have a kasha from those two brises that we just mentioned a minute ago, which seem to indicate otherwise. I'm making a neder. I'm not going to have enough from Reuben. Neder number 2 is ulami she'ishail alav. If I should dare appeal that first neder, the chacham who will accommodate me, he's going to be the subject of my new neder. I'm going to be yasser on him or from him. What does the Brisa say? If you'd like to delete the whole arrangement, you have to do it in order. Nishal ala rishon, nishal ala sheni. Amai, why? If he chooses, he can do this one first. If he chooses, let him go. Remove the other one first. Why are we insisting that he follows a certain sequence? If according to you, the last version of Rav Papi, you can do Hatara even before the Neder is here. The more answers the same as before. We're mistaken in the way we are translating the Brisa. How do you know what the Brisa meant when it said first and second? Maybe it's just a question of numbering. It's not referring to any specific sequence. And you're right. You can do number 2 before number 1 because Hataras Nedarim can be done even in advance, in anticipation of an Isra. Here comes another kasha from the other Brisa of Nazirus. So first Neder is no from Reuben. And if I dare remove that Neder, I'm going to become a Nazir. He wants to remove the entire arrangement. He has to go in order. First, he has to remove the Neder, which came first. And then, only then can he remove the Naziris, which has now been triggered by the removal of that first Neder. Why do we have to follow the sequence? If he chooses, he can take care of the Neder first. If he chooses, let him take care of the Naziris first. If it is true, if in fact you can address a Neder ahead of time. To Yufta, in fact, this is a refutation, a kasha on the second version of Rav Papi. It seems clear that when it comes to Hataras Nedarim, you cannot do it ahead of time. And in fact, that's how the Ram paskins. When it comes to Hafaro, he paskins like the Rabbanon. You can do it ahead of time. When it comes to Hataras Nedarim, you cannot. So the bottom line is, we have a machlokes by Hataras Nedarim. Rabbi Nassan says you can't do it ahead of time, whereas the Chachamim say you can. That was the Brisa. We had 3 shittas regarding Hataras Nedarim. Rav Ach bar Rav Huna held the same machlokes applies to Hataras Nedarim as well. Rav Papi in the first version held by Hataras Nedarim all agree you cannot do it ahead of time. And the final version of Rav Papi, which was refuted, when it comes to Hataras Nedarim, all agree you can do it ahead of time. Now, the Ranu paskins that in fact by Hataras Nedarim you cannot do it ahead of time points out that's only a concern when there is a condition involved. A is dependent upon B, meaning the Neder. Neder B is triggered by something, which is not yet here, which is not yet tangible. But let's say you make a Neder I'm going to be a nazir after 30 days. So I'm going to be usher on plenty after 30 days. That is not considered not here. It's here. It's about, it's the process has already been activated, so to speak. So when it's totally in Yomim, the Ran says, Toila Nidra be Yomim, it's going to come. You're expecting it. It's just a matter of time. So he says over there, certainly the Chacham can be mater. It would seem from the Ran that he's learning that the process has already been activated. It's already being actualized. It's developing, in which case it's already here to the extent that you can do Hatorah. Interesting point. Continues the Mishnah. Bar Rishona, way back when, initially, Hayu Eimrim, the Chachamim would say as follows. Shalosh Nashim. In the following 3 marriages, the following 3 cases, the women can compel their husbands to give them a get. Not only that, they can force them to divorce and force them to pay the ksuba, which isn't typical. Usually when the Isha wants out, we give her the get, but no ksuba. Here we say yoytzeis v'noitles ksuba, she leaves with a ksuba. First case, hayimeres tmiya anilach. She's a wife of a kohen. She says, look, sorry, there was an interaction as married with another man, ba'oinus, against my will, in which case it's not my fault, but Allah is that I'm usher to you. Kohanim have higher standards. Their kedusha compels them to keep away. Even in this case, he has to divorce, and therefore she's entitled to the ksuba. Second case, Shemayim beni lebenach. The Ran learns means like this: Hashem knows what's going on between us. He knows that you're unable to bear children. I want out. I want to have a child to take care of me in my old age. I want out. She has a right to do so. Third case, Unatulani mina Yehudim. I'm making a neder. I will never interact as married with anybody out there, which is a strong indication of how difficult that experience is for her. It's like an oinus, and therefore we say, look, it's not our fault. Let her go. Give her a get with iksup. That was initially, but when the doiris degenerated, in which case these statements could not simply be taken as fact. There was this underlying suspicion that perhaps she has an agenda. She's motivated by ulterior motives. They came back and said, we're concerned that perhaps this Isha has generated some interest in somebody else, to avoid a situation that an Isha will get attracted to somebody else and seek to destroy her marriage. And therefore we can't accept her claim as fact. Rather, we address it as follows. In the first case, when she claims that she's tamei, we don't believe her unless she proves it. The Ran points out that Anisha, she's meshubah to the husband. She's committed to her husband. She can't just make claims out of nowhere. She has to prove it. Otherwise, we just ignore it. Hashamayim beni l'benach in the second case, where she claims there's some difficulty between them in terms of bearing children. Yasur derech bakasha, the Rabbi Tam in Yevamis learns, we daven. Yasur derech bakasha, we ask Hashem to change their situation, to bring them bracha. That's the solution. Davening. Once he asked Reb Chaim Kanievsky an eitzah for something, and somebody needs to really accomplish something, and what's the ishtadlus? Reb Chaim Kanievsky told me, davening. Davening is the biggest ishtadlus. So that's what we do. We don't just cut and run, we daven for success, for atzlacha. In the third case, in Ratula Nimina Yehudim, she says, it's difficult for me to interact as married. Well, Yafar Chalkoi. So the husband has the right to do hafara pertaining to himself, so she stays on with him. Utei Mishamashta, and she stays on with him as married. Utei Natula Nimina Yehudim, and of course, upon divorce, she's usher upon all the Yehudim, because this hafara is limited to himself. But of course, it stays on if and when she gets divorced. Okay, so now, in the first case, we don't accept her claim as a tmeani, as fact, and she stays on with him. Question. Iboilu. Amr labalo tmeani. An Eishes Kohen claims that she's tummy. Mao sheteicha betruma. So in terms of their interaction, we just ignore her claim, right? They're mutter to live with each other normally. But what about her own personal obligations? What about her ability to eat truma, which would become disrupted if in fact her story is true? Rav Sheshes Amar Chelas, we let her eat. We don't want to make any distinctions. This way, It doesn't arouse any suspicion regarding her kids, because look, if she stops eating truma, that substantiates her claim, and her kids will now have their reputation smeared that they're children of an improper marriage. So it's all or nothing. We allow it to keep on as normal regarding interaction with her husband Kayin and eating truma. Some of us learn that we're speaking about truma only midrabanan, not truma deraisa. In any case, that's Rav Shesh's chiddush. Rav Amar Eina Ichelas. Don't eat truma. Who's going to notice what she's eating? If she knows that her experience is in fact true, she's really asr b'truma, she should keep away, eat chulin, non-truma material. Amar Rava, says Rava, Amar Omoider Rav Sheshes. Even Rav Sheshes, who allows her to continue with truma, would agree in the following case: Shim Nis'arla, or in this guy, suppose this marriage comes to an end, she gets divorced or is widowed. Of course, her truma privilege stops right there. She'ena Ichelas. Why? Very simple. Why? Midihu time elamishum shalaitaytzi la zabanea. What's the whole reason? What's the basis for the heter truma? To protect her kid's reputation, right? So that's only as long as she's married. But once she's nis'arla, v'nisgash, amri, people will see her eating, chulin and keeping away from truma. They'll say, look, it's a recent development. Hashta dit nisa. The oinus, the forceful interaction with the stranger happened now, after marriage. So her abstaining from truma won't cast a shadow, won't cast a blemish on her kids, who came into the world before this recent incident. So in any case, even Rav Sheshes would agree that going forward she has to keep away from truma, because she knows what happened. According to her account, she's asur b'truma. So while she was married, we sort of temporarily suspended that claim pertaining to her husband and perhaps even to truma. But after marriage, the marriage is over. She has to stick to her account of things and keep away from truma. Okay, so let's stop here. Let's just summarize. We had a interesting machlekes regarding doing hafara and hatorah ahead of time. Rav Nosson says hafara works ahead of time. Rabbanan say no. Regarding hatorah, some say it's the same machlekes. Some say that it would work regardless. That pshat had a tiyufta. Rather, we go with the other pshat that all agree hatorah ahead of time does not work. Lo yachal dvar has to be here. Initially, in the following three cases, we allowed the isha to leave with a ksuva, but then, when suspicion was aroused of perhaps ulterior motives, we don't listen to her. We don't accept it as fact. Rather, we push along. We try to remedy it in-house. Regarding the isha who's claiming tmei anilach, she stays on with the husband. What about truma? Rava says, well, she can't have truma. That's for sure. Rav Sheshes says, well, if you're gonna keep her from truma, it would indicate that you're accepting her claim, which would cast laws on her children. Play it safe, give her the truma. But Rava adds, of course, this only lasts as long as she's married. May Hashem give us hatzlacha rabbah. We should always have b'suras tevis. Asiyat l'shmaya. Amen.